Welcome, everybody. I'm Analena Stern, and this is the beautiful.
Hi, I'm Alexandra Danieli.
Yeah, and we're super excited to be here today and host this quantum alignment show. So far, I have just been watching them, and I have been amazed by how amazing they are. And today we have the honor to do one ourselves. So we have some thunderstorms here. I don't know if you can hear that. That's just good. I think that's actually good news. So, because we are nice and safe inside. And so what are we going to talk today about? We're going to talk about deconditioning, right? Because that is such a huge topic in human design. And Alex, that's how I call it, right? Alex, just short Alex. We both have been doing deconditioning like for quite some time, and before we actually met human design. And for us, the whole human design journey has been so amazing, has been so incredible, so fast. And we know that it's because we have been doing all this deconditioning. We have been doing this for such a while before we actually, before human design found us, right? And that's why we want to share all our secrets with you today, so that you also can accelerate your human design conditioning journey. And there's one thing I want to say in the beginning, like I truly believe it doesn't have to take 7 years from the time that we find out about our human design. I think we can do it much faster, and not just because I'm a time bender. So I think in general that just, it feels right in my core and my being, in every cell in my body, that we can accelerate this big time. So that's what we want to share here today. Alex?
Yeah. Welcome, lovely people. I see there's a few on Facebook already, and there's some here in Zoom. So I'm so excited to be on this journey with Analena. Like she said, we've been doing deconditioning for a while together, like 1.5 years kind of together. And before that, we've done our own thing in many different ways, tried things, and Analena and I found each other too. So that's been quite the beautiful love story. And like she said, human design then found us. And just so you guys know, I'm a 1/3 self-projected projector, very open, only 2 centers defined. And Analena over there has a lot of defined energies. Do you want to introduce your design?
Yeah, it's funny. I was thinking about it and you said it. So that's how we talk always, right? We pick up our thoughts. So we both have open head and Ashna, right? That's how it goes. I am a manifesting generator, time bender, 2/4. I love to network all the time. And I have 5 centers defined. What do I have defined? My throat, my G center, my will, my spleen, and my sacral, of course. So yeah, we're loving it. And we love working together. That's one of the most beautiful things I have experienced, how our energies like so beautifully work together, complement each other. And like when we work together, it's not like just 1 and 1 is 2. It's like a lot more.
A thunderstorm.
Yeah, you can hear this, right? I'm actually, I find it cozy when I'm inside, and I mean I'm in South Florida, so this is pretty common here on a rainy afternoon. So perfect time for us to sit on the couch and watch the quantum alignment show. So let's get started. Yay. I would say. So let me share the screen and then we get going. Okay, so this is the beautiful Alex and I, and like I said, we're gonna all talk about the deconditioning. We really believe you can accelerate this because it has happened for us, and whatever happens for us can happen for you as well. And it's really literally like the yin and the yang, right? We feel like it's this complementing piece to human design, and when we bring it together, we can get into alignment so fast, because that's really when all the magic happens in life, right? When we are aligned, when we have this connection to the divine, we get these insights, we can trust our intuition. That's really when we believe all the magic, anything, like all the wildest dreams that you may have, they can become reality when we get into alignment. So that's where we're gonna take you here today. And to really get started, of course, let's look at because this is all around our human design. And we talk so much about the conditioning, right? And very often I have found that when people have a lot of open centers or undefined centers, right, Alex? When we first learned about this, it was kind of like, very often we have seen in groups and some chats like, oh yeah, I have more conditioning because I have such an open chart and everything. But then you also meet people there, they almost have all the centers defined and they can still have a lot of conditioning, right? And the one thing that I love that Karen teaches us as well is that, you know, we all have the entire chart. It's just like how we experience the energies is different. And, you know, if I have an open solar plexus or not, we all have this, like, we want to avoid confrontation. We tend to be people pleasers, right? So it's really, for us, really clear that no matter what your chart looks like, no matter how open it is, no matter how defined it is, like, we all experience trauma and conditioning, right? Where we take on these limiting beliefs and these false stories and these old patterns that we keep repeating again and again. And this is something we will talk more in more detail about here today. But I just want to let you all know, no matter, your chart is perfect. We all in this together. We all have conditioning. So let's get rid of it all together, right? So, okay.
Yeah. And Analena and I are truly in love with deconditioning, and we call it the sexy work. We had a teacher who called it the unsexy work, and they were feeling like, that's not really expensive. That makes you feel like you kind of don't want to do it, right? So
expensive. Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, but it wasn't, if you, the unsexy work terminology wasn't feeling so expensive. Yeah. So anyway, so at birth, we can, you know, when you see little kids who haven't been very conditioned and who have not gone through a lot of trauma, you can see them in their energy blueprint. I know a little boy whose parents have done a great job not interfering at all with his design. And he is just 100% his manifesting generator power force at 5 years old. It's hilarious, exhilarating, wonderful to witness. And we may carry some baggage from past lives. You know, everyone's free to believe here, of course, what they do believe. But there is such a thing as epigenetics, and that's been proven by science. So we do carry a lot of our ancestors' trauma in us. And it can also be going much more further than that if you are tapping more into the spiritual realms of this. But let's just go here with the birth chart. At birth, we have our energy blueprint, and conditioning and trauma can start as early as the day of your birth. It depends on your birth experience. It can depend on, you know, if you got breastfed or not. I went into, for example, a deep state meditation one time with a beautiful facilitator, and it showed me that I had conditioning from that first day of when my mom decided not to breastfeed me. Well, she didn't want to not breastfeed me. She just couldn't, and she didn't have the support, and then she gave up. And so as my little baby brain made that mean something already. So it can start as early as there, but we are at birth just pure energy blueprint, pure human design chart. Yeah.
Let me get to the next slide.
Let's get to the next slide. And then in the first 5 to 7 years of life is where the most imprinting happens. And our old preschool, I have 2 children and they're now out of the preschool age, but our former preschool teacher, Christina, always said that in the first 5 to 7 years of our lives, we're like a sack of flour. And if you lay even just gently your hands on it, it will make an imprint. So the first years of life are really, really very precious. And that's where we get conditioned in the good ways and in the bad ways the most. So that just really happens during early childhood. But it can continue to happen anytime in your life, right? Analena, like, for example, you had a very traumatic experience a few years ago. I know a bunch of other, you know, anyone who goes through a significant traumatic experience anytime in their life will then have an imprint on their systems, right? And then their nervous systems and their brains are programmed with more fear and more reaction.
Yeah, it's so true, because I mean, if we were to know what we need to do after those 7 years, probably it wouldn't have happened that way anyways, right? So most of us, we have no idea, like, how to release trauma and do all this beautiful work, right? And then we keep piling it up and we create more trauma and more trauma. We keep repeating those same patterns. And yeah, so that definitely has happening for me in my life. And now I understand it has been happening for me, even though at the time I was like, it's happening to me. But that's also, we're going to explain this here also today a little bit further, like why literally everything that happens in our lives is always for us, because the universe, life wants us to live our most aligned self and create all the magic and have all the magic and all the abundance. And it has to actually bring these events to us so that we finally release them from our body, from ourselves, from our coding, right? So it's a lifelong journey. And of course, the older we become, whenever we start this work, there may be a bunch that has been piled up inside of us, right? That wants to be released. And now let's talk about trauma. You will probably all know this because this is the beautiful definition by Karen, how we all experience trauma. And basically, right, any event, circumstance, or perception that causes you to lose connection with your lovability, your sense of value, and your right place in the world. And I mean, this is such a big thing for kids, right? It's something easy, like you spill the milk on the floor and you get yelled at, and then all of a sudden you feel like you're not being loved, right? Because you messed it up or you're not good enough, all these little things, right? And literally, like, trauma has become, I think it's how we define it, right? We have these words, these big words, and it's really about like what is the meaning we create behind it, right? And for some people it can mean the most horrible thing, but it can also be like these little things, right? So anytime where our sense of lovability, safety, and belonging is violated in one way or the other, we create trauma. And if we don't know how to process it in the moment and release it and be with it, it stays stuck in our DNA, in our coding, in the cells in our body. And then we keep attracting the same circumstances over and over again that trigger these traumas until we finally release them. And unfortunately, we don't learn in school how to release trauma from our bodies, right? So that's one of the things we wish, actually. And we have just started with our work like few years ago, right? But it's like there's so much more to come. And why not? Maybe one day kids in school will learn about human design. Kids in school will learn about how to prevent trauma, and if they have some trauma already happen, like how to release it in the fastest way possible, right? Because the reality is we want everybody to have a magnificent life, right? Not just the 1% or 2%. It's for all of us. It's for all of us in the collective. And so this is now, just wanted to make it graphic, right? So because sometimes it's like, it's the invisible stuff, right? Where we're like, oh, okay, but where is it? Like, I look fine. Like, where's the trauma? I can't see it, right? So what I want to show here, like in the slide, we had all these like splashes, these little life events. One was maybe you were being rejected by a person. There was some bigger things. Maybe there was some alcoholic abuse, whatever you have experienced in your life, right? And when we keep suppressing these emotions that are attached to these experiences, we keep these traumas literally stuck in the body. And it's literally then your whole superpowers of your human design, so to say, is kind of, there's a whole big shadow around it. Like it's hidden almost, right? Like you can't really access to the divine and all these beautiful insights that we constantly receive, because there's so much trauma that we're carrying. And it's like you feel like you have this heavy backpack on your back, or it feels like you're swimming against the current, right? And so these are those common symptoms, right? If you feel this way, like life is just hard, you're constantly getting triggered and you're reacting a lot, or we get into this victim mindset, which is always this like victim mindset in the essence is really like when we see everything, oh, this is happening to me and to me and to me, right? And also if we stay stuck a lot in the past, we have regrets about the past, and we're so worried about the future that we end up being paralyzed in the now, and we actually don't take action when we know we could. Lack of confidence and self-esteem, restlessness, also weight issues, right? So often, I can tell you with how many clients I have worked on, I used to in the beginning, Alex too, right? Health coaching is what we started with. I quickly realized, like, yeah, it's important to know what to eat and all these things, but that's really not the core. It's not the root of the issue. It always went down to the emotional baggage. And then we stopped looking at the food. And then all of a sudden, boom, they're like, yeah, I just feel now better about myself. I love myself more, and I just make better food choices, right? So, like, literally, I really believe, like, no matter what issue we face in life, no matter what the condition is, right? Or we call it addictions, and some are socially acceptable, some are not, right? There's always this emotional baggage behind, right? It's almost the secret magic root core that we need to pull out, right? The weeds that we need to pull out. And another thing that is also, I have experienced this with all my clients in my life as well, like when we keep repeating the same patterns again, like for example, like the patterns that our parents had, right? Then we always say, like, I don't want to be like my parents, I want to do it all different. And then we do the same stuff, right? It's like, really? And even though consciously we get it, we don't want to do it, but it's all in our subconscious and our coding that we attract what we vibe from the inside. And then we create the same relationship problems. And then we leave the partnership, and then we think, oh, I need to find a new partner. But if you don't do the work on yourself, you just end up in a very similar, same kind of situation, just the person with a different face, right? So that's all kind of signs that we do have a lot of conditioning, right? When these things occur in our life.
Yeah. And it's beautifully said too, with like the weight issues that you mentioned there. It's literally like we are dooming ourselves to carry an extra weight because we're not releasing the weight of those traumas and trapped emotions and all the things that are holding us back. So we're literally punishing ourselves or treating our bodies in the ways that we are emotionally eating or self-sabotaging or eating way more calories than we're using, or keeping ourselves in like the stress mode of the nervous system that keeps the pounds on and all those things. So that was just an iteration to the last slide that you had on there. Yeah. And then, yeah, just a quick like explanation of what emotions really are, because like when we go back to referencing children, I just like that because I have to, and I can relate to it so much from when I was a kid. And when I cried, and how often I got told, like, it's enough now. It's enough. You know, you should be done crying now. Like, who is anyone to tell us these things, right? And kids know, like they innately know, like they need to go feel their emotions, cry, and they want to have that tantrum. They want to do it. They want to move it out of their body. They want to move it. Like yesterday, my 7-year-old boy had a huge tantrum because he was overtired. And I just sat next to him. And what he kept doing is he just kept spinning himself, lying down in a circle on the floor. And it's, you know, when you look at nature, so much in nature is circular energy. And so are emotions. They run in a circle. And kids innately know how to move those things. They know that it's something that needs to process, that needs to cry, that needs to scream, that they need to move their bodies in it. And then how often do the parents come along and say, it's okay, just because we are uncomfortable with their emotions, right? So we can't hold that space. But what are emotions really? They're like an energy, and an energy that wants to be in motion. An emotion does not want to be stuck in our bodies. It wants to move out. And by my son doing that, I didn't tell him to move in a circle. He just innately felt into his body, like if he keeps spinning and spinning in a circle and crying and crying and crying, and that felt right to him. That was his way of listening to his body, how his emotion is going to move. And a big thing is that we are resisting them because we are being told all our lives not to be crying. Like big girls don't cry, boys don't cry, like anybody don't cry. Like there's literally a saying for anything, right? Or we need to handle ourselves or have our emotions under control. Like, yeah, there's a time and a place for that, especially for us parents, right? Where we can't always, like, when we have an emotional thing going on, be a puddle on the floor and not take care of our responsibilities, right? But then we go back to them later. But there's literally everywhere in society where we're being told that we're only being strong if we're ignoring or pushing down our emotions. And like Analena said, there are societally approved coping mechanisms, many of them, right? A lot of them, I'm not political, but I know there's a lot of lobbies for some of them too, right? But also look at the advertising industry and see like how much of those things are band-aids for something not to look deeper, right? Even chronic illness, like a lot of chronic illness comes from stuffed down emotions. And you can look at Louise Hay's work about this all. It's like really, really fascinating. And yeah, here are some of the most popular coping strategies that we know. And I do some of them, you know. I consider myself an deconditioning junkie almost, but you know, I still do some of them. And it's not like we should never do them. Sometimes it's just like the nervous system had enough. We just need to zone out. Yeah, let's do it. But let's be aware of if we're actually honest with ourselves. So a lot of people who are diving into perfectionism, like, and being an overachiever, that's a coping strategy, or mostly for not feeling good enough. Then all the distractions, like when I hang on my Instagram for way too long, or, you know, I'm just looking at everything else outside, diving into YouTube videos, how to do this, how to do that, you know, because I don't want to look at how I'm really, really feeling. Or when you like always have to be the strong one, or, you know, people also, especially in the spiritual community, when they're diving into only feeling good, only going for the good feeling, right? Like, let's just live all in blissful affirmations all day long and meditate, like, and everything is love, everything is good. And they're just living like at such a small capacity because they're ignoring the large percentage in their body that actually wants to be heard and felt. Then, like we said already, emotional eating, drinking, other substances that just make us not feel what we are not wanting to feel, right? Because nobody ever taught us how. Or even obsessive self-improvement. Like, there are a few more, like, and if you know any more, you know, welcome to type them in the comments, or send them to us later. But, you know, those are just some of the most common ones. And the first real important step is that you are honest with yourself. Like, that was for me the hardest. Like, that's when it burns the most. When I say, okay, I'm doing this. That is hard, right? When we have to start being honest ourselves. But everything from then on gets a lot easier.
Yeah, and it's so important, like, not to be judgmental with ourselves, right? Because it's just, we're humans, and that's how we have learned it. Like, nobody has taught us to really feel and be with sadness and all these things. So, like Alex was saying, like, just do a little inventory, maybe do a little journaling exercise later, or even now if you have something come up for you, like, how are you coping sometimes to not feel how you're really feeling, right? To kind of just feel better in the moment. And, you know, sometimes that is necessary because there's not always a time and a place. But I think most of us, we do have it because we're humans.
Yeah. So then when it comes to deconditioning, what does that really mean? Because in human design, especially, that's like a big terminology, right? And so many people, especially when they're new to human design and they find their charts and they hear about their superpowers and their incarnation crosses and their purposes, and then they hear, yeah, you got to do the deconditioning work. It's like, yeah, but what is that, right? So it's literally the releasing of the baggage that holds you back. And there's a lot of stories that we can catch ourselves with every day that are related to these beliefs and this programming, right? And oftentimes it's like the experience, like what Analena said before too, it's just like when we recreate the same patterns, or we want to just move away, or we want to just like change work because all of our coworkers are annoying, right? But it's like, okay, but we are recreating that same story wherever we go until we release that story and that energy inside of ourselves, right? And the thing is, the more we resist it, the longer it persists. And the longer these energies stay stuck in our body, they can actually create like health problems. Not only just life circumstantial issues that are like Groundhog Day, but they're also the energy, like everywhere in your body where you are holding a trapped emotion or a trauma or whatever you may call it. There's so many names for it. You are vibing at a low frequency. And as we all know, when we vibe at a higher frequency, that's where our body can heal. That's where we're at optimal health. So the more of our body can vibrate at that higher healing frequency, that if you look it up on Google, it's the emotional scale, you will see. But a lot of guilt and shame, like they're very low frequency. And wherever we hold that in our body, a lot of people have thyroid problems because they hold so much in their throats. All the gut issues. I'm also a gut health specialist, and I know that the people who didn't get any results from changing their diets and avoiding certain foods, they have emotions sitting there. So the first step is really to accept that we carry these emotions and stop being afraid of them. They're just an energy. They don't mean anything. And I've made them mean something and identified with them for so long, and it was so painful. And it was even painful to start separating from them because they felt like a part of me. But it's important to know that when it comes to the human design chart, for example, everything that is not our innate energy or anything that doesn't feel good or like pure love and that make us feel less than or limited, that is someone else's energy that they put in you and on you. So when we start accepting that and looking at those things, that's when we have the capacity to change it. So that's that for this slide. Yeah, and Analena and I like to talk about it often like an onion, right? Our purest, highest self is the most thin, little pokey on the inside of an onion. And anything around us is just layering, is our conditioning. So whenever we release a trapped emotion, whenever we let go of one of those stories and limiting beliefs and emotions that are holding us back in our bodies, we're just dropping layer by layer by layer, and then we're becoming more and more of ourselves. And by that, we make space in our body, and this is just another layer of this, and I'm not going to go too much into this, but a lot of people run around with most of their soul not in their bodies because there's no space, because we hold all these limiting beliefs, these trapped emotions, these traumas, these stories, and the soul is like out here, is like, I want to come in and work with you and give you your full power and do whatever you're here supposed to do with me, but I have no space because you're carrying all this shit in you. Excuse my language. Am I even allowed to say that on here?
Isn't that kids free?
No, we're gonna get censored. But the soul wants to come down. It wants to be in the body. It's like our body is meant to be one with the soul. And the more space we can make in there, the more, oh, thank you, I'm getting a poop emoji. I'm feeling much better now. The more space we can make in our bodies for our soul to live in there, then we can actually create the life we want because we're living from our full power. So that's the beauty of doing the deconditioning work. I got a little excited there, I swore.
No, thank you. Really beautifully explained. And here I really like this graphic that I feel like really helps people to really understand what's the whole difference between emotions and thoughts and beliefs and everything, and why is all this emotional stuff so crucial? And really like that literally like the five, we talk about the 5D world often, right? Like really the connection to get us there, where we don't have the separation and the limiting self and the ego and everything, is through our emotions. And so you can kind of imagine, like, let's look at a big tree, right? And we have, like, when we talk about positive affirmations, and by all means they're great, right? We do them as well. Just like when I started, and we started on our self-development journeys and tried all these modalities, all these courses, all these books, right? It was mostly about change your thinking, change your thoughts. And for me, it was like, whoa, I have a lot of thoughts. It's like, how many thousands? 70,000 a day. And I just got like, yeah, frustrated, right? So this is not working. And the thing is too, our subconscious, when what we believe is really what we manifest in our life. And if I say to myself, I'm happy, or I'm super successful, and then my subconscious is like, yeah, that's not true. That's a bunch of BS, right? So it's like not, we keep saying ourselves, and sometimes we can actually increase like our subconscious beliefs with that, right? And you can literally imagine, like, the thoughts is like these little leaves on the tree, right? Everything, that's how many thoughts we have. And then kind of the big trunk, that's the beliefs, right? That's the big chunk. And that's the whole subconscious that we have, right? Where we all have the programs, the way we're kind of running our life on autopilot. And then the root of everything, that's where the emotions are, right? And that's really where all the juice is. And you can literally imagine, like, almost like, close your eyes right now and just imagine, like, you have in your body, you get to the emotion, you get to release the emotion. And as you release the emotion, like the negative emotion, like, and we call them negative, right? Let's call them heavy, or the shadow emotions. When we get to release them, with every emotion that you release a lot of limiting belief and thousands of thoughts that are attached to the emotion. That's why it's so powerful. But we have been trying to do it from the outside in, right? Let me find my answers on the outside. Let me tell myself all these words to kind of plaster it up. So positive thinking, when we don't use it in the right way and we disregard the emotional world, it's not really effective, right? It's kind of takes us a really, really long time, may get us really, really frustrated, and may us run around in circles. Now, positive thinking and the beliefs work along with the emotional work, taking off like a rocket is super powerful, right? Because you literally gonna start, and I really tell you this from my own experience. I have lived it. Alex has lived it. All of our clients are, I mean, we have tons of testimonials, and our clients they're changing their lives. They're feeling lighter. They're feeling more expansive. They are creating more abundant relationships. They're changing their money stories and their relationship with finances. They're entering into new careers. I mean, everything is happening. And the biggest thing is they start to trust themselves, right? Because that's really what happens when we clear this all up. We get to really understand what is just my thinking or my rational thoughts and what is really my intuition, because so often we have such a hard time to distinguish between the two, right? And Alex mentioned it a little bit already. These heavy emotions is like anger, resentment, guilt, shame. They have a very low vibration, right? They're very low vibe, and I'm gonna show in a few slides, I think. Also, I have the scale actually there for you, and you can literally imagine, like, and oftentimes these things we are not aware of. We think, no, I'm fine, I'm okay, I got this. And you may have to release a lot of anger first before you can get to some actually sadness that is deep, or some grief that has happened 25 years ago that you didn't fully experience at the time. And it's so deep inside of us that it actually takes a little bit of work to let it come up, right? And all this self-sabotage, all this self-punishment we do to us so much, right? It's so often because we don't like to feel the heavy emotions, right? It's like with emotional eating, right? Like, we start to feel iffy, we start to feel not so well, and then we go for the sugar, right? Because that gives us this really high feeling in the moment, which unfortunately doesn't last long and puts us in this up and down cycle. But it's with so many things, right? Or then we grab to social media, try to distract ourselves, then we feel even worse because we compare ourselves with others, right? And we further enhance our belief of we're not good enough, or others can have it but I'm not, right? And we feel like we don't belong here. So there is so much. And what we have also learned from our own experience is that when we are open to look at this, when we are like, you know what, I'm ready, I'm sick and tired of feeling this way, I'm sick and tired of repeating my old patterns, like we start this work, and sometimes it gets a little bit tougher in the beginning, right? Because your body is literally like, you can imagine like a little child, like gets excited, like, oh, finally she's or he's paying attention, and I can get this all out, yay. It's like almost a party going on, right? And it's a detox process. So very often in our sessions, like especially in the beginning, like you feel like you just did a green juice detox for 2 days, right? And you want to sleep, you want to rest, you want to drink a lot, because these heavy emotions, just like when we nourish our body with lots of fast food and things like that, is a toxic release, right? And your body has to work. But let me tell you, this is the biggest gift, at least I have given myself ever. And I'm addicted to deconditioning now. I'm officially coming out of the closet. So it's really, this is my human design chart, by the way. I think I have been showing it all this time, right? And I didn't say it. So, but this is how you can envision it. As you keep peeling off these layers of an onion, it becomes clearer and clearer and clearer, and then you get more and more aligned with, you know, your true self. And we really believe we can get clean. We totally can. It's possible. It's possible for anybody. It all starts with the intention, and we really have to have a huge level of honesty and self-awareness for ourselves, right? Because I think so often we tend to lie to ourselves and like, oh yeah, no, I'm okay, you know, but once you start to do the work and see how much better and more amazing life can be, it's like, oh, I want more, you know. It's like when we have money, right? We want to buy something, and then we want to have more, right? It's the same thing. Like when you get to learn how to feel good, you want more, and then it gets better, and it literally gets better and better and better and better. And it's also a gradual process, because our subconscious mind is here. The main purpose of our mind is to keep us safe, right? And it always wants to keep us usually in the past, even though the past may have been a lot of struggle and very unfavorable conditions or experiences. Your subconscious knows that, hey, it was survivable, right? So it oftentimes wants to keep us in those vicious and unhealthy cycles or toxic patterns that we have had, because even though it was so of not what we want, it's still familiar to our mind, right? That's why this process, with a lot of also support and a very loving environment, and this like little baby steps, one step at a time, but do it consistently, is really what, and this is what coaching is all about, right? Like the information alone is not enough. We really have to embrace it and do it and keep doing the work. And if we do it consistently over time, your subconscious is more able to really adapt it and allow it to happen. Because otherwise we literally can freak out and like, oh no, I don't know, this is too good to be true, it's not safe, right? Because I'm used to my old problems, and again, I survived, so let me just keep it this way. So that's what we want to break free from with the conditioning. And so here is now the scale that we talked about. And if you guys are interested, this is a book. I want to actually put you on your heart, anybody that's watching here or later. So this is the Hawkins Scale from Dr. Hawkins. And he has written a book that is called Letting Go, The Path to Surrender. I think it's called Letting Go, and the subtitle is The Path to Surrender. Alex, I don't know if you have the link somewhere. If you can find it, you can share with everybody. But this book has changed my life. I have to say that, like, because he goes through all these emotions that you can hear on the scale, right? And as you like see here, shame and guilt, they vibe at 20 or 30. So it's very hard to get to those higher ones when we carry them. And it doesn't mean like we're only at one level. It can, of course, it can shift over time. But really what matters is our baseline frequency, right? Kind of take the average of all the emotions we have and then see where you're at. That's the average baseline frequency. And we literally, we all want to manifest, right? We always talk about vision boards and these things and these affirmations, and you know, like we manifest 24/7. We manifest all the time. So everything that you have in your life, you have manifested that through your vibrations. And your 3D experience in the world is through your baseline emotional frequency. And the higher your baseline becomes, the more favorable things you will attract in your life. So the more baggage you let go, the higher you vibe, and the more baggage you hold on to, the lower you vibe, right? And so Alex and I, and this is, I mean, we're really excited about this because we have gone through so many trainings on modalities, and there are so many different ways of doing things, right? And we have found a way that is incredibly fast and also very loving and gentle, how we can help you to bring up this baseline frequency so that you can get into alignment as fast as possible, right? So that's a method we have developed, and I think Alex is gonna tell a little bit more about it. So.
Yeah, and I also, can you just go back one more second? I just want to, when you look at that scale, courage is kind of where things change. Courage at 200 in the middle there, you can see, is kind of the neutral. That's when you'll start like taking more action, like jumping off the cliff, doing things that might scare you, but that you really know that are good for you. So just wanted to mention that there, that the courage is where things turn around and get into the more positive vibes.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we have to have we need to have the courage to face our shadows, our darkness, right? Because the universe, it's polarity. Like, and the one thing that I love to say, it's like nature teaches us this, right? If we just have the positive stuff, then there wouldn't be a night. We only would have day, right? We would just have the sunshine. And what happens is when you resist the night, the darkness, the negative emotions, I'm going to be tired. I'm not going to enjoy the sunshine. You know, I'm going to have not a good day, right? So we need to fully surrender into the night, into the darkness, so that we can fully then embrace and enjoy the lightness, the sun, the day, right? Or the ocean. There's always a pushing forward and a pushing back, right? It's the same thing. So nature really teaches us everything. And there's female and male. It's also with the energies in the world right now, right? We have been so much in the masculine energy. We have been neglecting the feminine. Now everything is about the feminine, and now it's about bringing them both together so they can dance, like right? So it's like, yeah, and because we have been ignoring that dark stuff for so long, there may be a little bit of, you know, there may be a little bit of work to do, but again, it's the sexy work, so why not do it? So, okay, now we go to the beautiful heart. Okay.
And Christine also says here on Facebook, we're all master manifestors, even if we're not manifestor types, right? And
yeah, when
I first learned that I'm a projector or orchestrator, I was like, how am I going to manifest anything, right? But it's so like, once we're in alignment, like for me, I just manifest with thought. Like I just think of what I want, and like then the universe, because no matter what type we are, when we're in our alignment with who we really are and we decondition, then the universe is like behind us. It's like giving us everything. It's pushing everything on us that we're asking for. But when we're asking for it, and that's often when people then say, you know, oh, I asked for it, but it's probably not aligned because now I'm getting all these difficulties and all this pushback, and the universe is throwing all these big boulders in my way. That's not that it's not aligned, because whatever you desire in your life, because it's your life, whatever you desire is in alignment with your life. It's just, if you want it, the universe is going to show you all the areas in your life where you're not aligned for receiving it or holding it. Like, let's say, for example, you want to manifest a ton of money, right? And money doesn't make a person worse. It just amplifies what's already there. So if you are not ready to do the things with the money that the universe thinks is a win-win-win for everyone, it's going to give you all these boulders and puzzles and triggers and reactions so that you can look at where you're not aligned yet. But the universe is always listening. The universe always wants to give you what you want. And the other thing I wanted to mention too is when you look at all these trapped emotions and all the thing that the darkness, whatever you call it, the shadows, the trauma that you're holding inside, it takes so much energy to keep it down, to not have it ruin your day, right? And when we want to raise that base level frequency, it's like also our energy gets raised. We have more energy to actually do the things we want to do because we are not constantly spending energy on keeping the emotions under control or spending resources, money, time, and thought on, you know, how to not feel them. Like, do we need to buy more wine in order to not feel our uncomfortable day tonight? Or, you know, there's a lot of planning and thought and subconsciously too that has to go into managing all that what we hold, right? And oftentimes we can find it in our environments too, in our homes. You know, the more clutter we have in our homes, the more we can usually tell how much clutter we're holding inside. So that's another good testing point where you can see, like, how is your environment looking? That's probably something that gives you a good point. So for this slide, Analena and I have come up, not entirely ourselves, but we have just brought everything that we've learned together into the rapid alignment method in the way that it makes the most sense to us and our clients. And there are so many names for this kind of work, right? So there's deconditioning, there's inner child work, there's trauma release. Some people call it shadow work, other people call it unsexy work, we call it sexy work, it's emotional release, you know. It's all the same stuff because it all literally comes back down to releasing the things inside of you that aren't yours to bring you into more alignment. So what it's all about is not what it's called, but that is going to bring you into alignment with who you really are and what your soul is here to bring to the earth and how you want to live your life. Because when you start speaking from desires, you're going to start speaking from soul. And there's nothing wrong, like, with anything that you want, right? You just want to get in alignment with your desires and with your soul. And that means that you need to get your body and your brain in alignment, because that's where the holdup is. Your soul doesn't need alignment, right? Your soul is aligned. Your soul is just not in your body because your body is not aligned. So that's where this rapid alignment method comes in. And that's where we bring so much magic to the table. What's next? So for those of you who are more into, like, understanding the facts, we just want to give you a brief overview. Obviously, we're not going to show you how it's done right here because it's a process. But we wanted to, for those of you who wanted to start, like, maybe looking into it and feeling into it, just give you the 3 steps that you can start with. So what the first step is the awareness. Awareness is always first. And that's where we said earlier too, it's like it starts with radical self-ownership and honesty and responsibility for all of our feelings. Even if our partner just said a really, I was going to swear again, thing to us, and it made us feel something really, really annoying, and now we are triggered and we feel really terrible. And yes, it was him who literally just opened that up in us. It's still ours. We still have to take radical ownership for our emotion. And so step 1 is to feel the triggers, the judgments, the emotional discomfort, and to really, like, start writing it down or taking some kind of note of it. You can do that however you want. Some people are more into organizing these things. Some people are more into going with the flow, whatever really feels right to you. And then the next step, how we guide, is that we help you locate it in your body. And then have you feel it. Because like I explained earlier, emotions are a cycle, and oftentimes when they get stuck, or not oftentimes, when they get stuck, is the cycle gets interrupted. Like the child cries and has a tantrum, and the grown-up isn't, or the parent isn't comfortable with it and stops it. So the cycle stops here, and that means it can't go fully around. That means you're always gonna feel the rest of that trigger. Whatever fills the rest of that cycle in your life is gonna trigger that emotion, because that emotion wants to go all the way around one time and just be complete. So that's what we do, and then we release it at the root. So that is the 3-step process. And for many people, it can be scary to go in there by yourself, and some human design types might not want to, do it because it sounds like, oh, that's uncomfortable. I just want to have like the golden outcome, and I just want to like have the results, but that all like sounds a little uncomfortable. Maybe there's another option for it. Actually, there isn't. Whenever you want to release something, the only way out is through, just like a big, big storm. The buffaloes actually know this best, and that's why a lot of native nations see the buffalo as the wisest animal, because when the buffalo sees a storm, it doesn't run away from it. It doesn't try to run around it. It knows that the shortest way out of the storm is to go straight through the eye. And then on the other side is blue skies, right? But it can be very new and scary. And that's why it's so beautiful to have the options and resources to support you. Some people like to do everything themselves. Some people like to be supported, right? But the most important thing to know is that while our method is pretty miraculous and pretty fast and rapid and streamlined and magical all at the same time, it all takes time, it all takes dedication, it all takes continuously showing up for yourself. And the more you do it, the easier it gets, because the more you do it, the more you love yourself, and then you'll want to do it more and more. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think I love the buffalo. I'm going to steal it from you.
Mine.
It's exactly, we have to work into the storm to get out of it. It's the same in a hurricane, right? The middle is where it's calm. It's right in the center of the. Okay, so for those of you, right, that want to have some support or check us out a little bit more, we consistently talk about it. We help you, and we actually have a next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I think it's at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, but they're going to be replays. So even if you can make it live, we have a 3-day rapid alignment workshop where we're going to take you deeper. We're going to reveal our entire process. We'll teach it. We'll take you through some of the method itself. And the link is here. I think Betsy will also send you guys the link if you want to sign up for it. We're super happy to have you. We also have this amazing Facebook group. It's called Code Freedom. It's all about freedom, right? And that's really the space where we really share all of our magic and energy with you every day. Of course, we also talk about human design. And then for those of you that are maybe a little bit further and you're already like into having your own business, you're an entrepreneur, we also have a weekly mastermind where we teach, we go really deep into the human design chart, and along with the accelerated deconditioning with the rapid alignment method. So that's really for really deep integration of the human design and the deconditioning work, right? Because like we say, consistency really is what matters. And that's what really gives us results over time. And the other thing is, we're talking about YouTube, right? I have a YouTube channel now where you can also see me more often. Alex is gonna come on there soon too. I have to find a date and a time. It's called Analena's Wonderland. I don't have the link here right now, but I can share that later. You can find us on Instagram, also on Facebook, for sure. Can message us if you have any desire to work with either one of us one-on-one. We can talk about that, see if it's a good fit. But whoever is like really ready and to decondition, live their best lives, like we're here for you. And we want to thank you for being here. And I know there's a bunch of questions, so hopefully we have a little bit of time now to get to those.
We've got about 6 minutes. Thank you for an amazing presentation. You also had a lot of comments both here and on Facebook of people saying, thank you, this was just what I needed, really resonating with all this information. So I don't know if it's Tamara or Tamara, she asked about the science of the law of attraction. She said that she had heard that it doesn't work with human design, but thought you were saying it does, and was wondering if you could talk about that.
Yeah, also I think Karen talks, I just spoke German a little bit, right? It's all linked. It's not like human design is separate and law of attraction is separate, right? Because we talk, especially the solar plexus, that's where all our emotional energy is. So the more we can understand that, especially when we have, and maybe I can tie it together with the other question, I saw it in the chat. I think somebody was asking, how can I decondition when I have the solar plexus open in my partner and all these gates defined? We can all decondition. We all can. When you do this work, you raise up your vibrations, right? And yes, it's all linked with the law of attraction. I think Karen has a beautiful, our G center is a magnetic monopole, which I think through there it vibrates out and then it comes back to us. So for me, it all belongs together, so that it's not like, oh, human design is here and this is there. This is all like, all these modalities, they come together to help us, to support us live our best life, right? Is that answering that question? So it would be a total yes. It's not separate.
Yeah, I think you answered it. And I think you're talking about how Karen talks about how our ideas and inspirations influence our emotions, which then calibrates our hearts, which then attracts into our life, whatever it is we're calling in. So all of this that you're talking about, emotional deconditioning and really basically increasing our baseline vibration, right? Emotionally, that's going to impact what we're magnetizing through our heart into our life. Absolutely. And then you touched on this a little bit, the other question. Someone says that they have her and her husband both have and her partner have open solar plexus, but they each have hanging gates that complete the others. And so together they have 4 emotional channels defined. And it's a bit of an emotional roller coaster, she's saying, and wondering how they might be able to navigate that a little bit better in terms of human design.
Yeah, beautiful. Oh, we have somebody from Italy. I love Italy. So Alex and I, we both are undefined in our emotional solar plexus, and we both have people in our lives very close to us that have the defined, and they have lots of waves. So I can tell you from my own experience, and Alex, you I'm sure you will share too. In the beginning, before I knew about all of this, I always felt this energy so strong, and I thought there's something wrong with me because we can amplify it, right? And the more deconditioning, what happens when you do the deconditioning, you don't take on these other energies as strong anymore. It becomes like you almost have like a little shield around you that's like energy protection in a way. Again, this doesn't happen with a click of a button, but this happens over time. And also when you have the understanding that, okay, this is not mine, and sometimes there needs to be a space to just, okay, let me ground. Like grounding is super important. However that will be, you can go outside, put your feet on grass to ground yourself, meditate. Sometimes we need to get out of the aura a little bit, or go dance, shake it off, right? Because Karen teaches us like we are supposed to be an emotional screen, not a sponge. And that sounds good in theory, but I have found that with the deconditioning, it's actually happening, right? Because I used to take on all this emotional energy from clients a lot. And I was like, ooh, I can't work with so many people. Like, I don't know why, but I literally had this energy stuck in my throat. And I was like, I don't know. So now with understanding human design and the decondition work, I was like, oh, okay, cool. It's not mine. I can protect myself. And this is so, but to answer your question, it's possible. Like in the core of my being, it's totally possible. If you're willing to do the work, if you're willing to go there, it is possible. And it's also, when we do the work, our whole environment calibrates and changes. Like, it's not about us like, oh, I need to change my partner or somebody else. It's all you, because our life is always a mirror of what's going on in our internal world. So it's yeah, we stop trying to fix us, because that's another thing. Like, I feel sometimes, with human design, there's no advantage or disadvantage and, oh, I have this, now I'm doomed or something. Not at all. Like, we all are perfect and we need you exactly the way you are, like this, right? And for the decondition work, this will work for all of us and really bring out your superpowers, because we all have them.
Yeah. And one thing I'd like to quickly just add on that, if two people have emotional definition and so many channels defined, what can happen, like if you're not deconditioning yourself, you're going to trigger each other too. So when you are, the more and more you decondition yourself and get rid of that old coding and those trapped emotions, you will know what is yours and you will know what is not yours. And you will be able to really just hold each other or hold the other in their wave. And that's really the big thing, is to also know like what is the wave and what is triggering and conditioning, right? So that we can actually know our wave doesn't mean anything. Our emotional wave, if anything, is a source of creation and a source of getting better at what we're supposed to get better at, right? But the deconditioning will actually help you not get triggered by each other so much anymore. And then you can just get to know and maybe journal on or find your own patterns. How long is your wave? Is it the intense one? Is it the one that rises slowly and drops hard? Or is it the one with the small undulations? And how long does it take? So that you have more of a pattern of your own, and maybe your partner can do the same. And then you're just more aware and you know, okay, this is just an emotional wave and it doesn't mean anything. It just means I'm going to feel it for however long it lasts, and then it's going to be over. But you'll know then at least it's not the coding anymore.
Yeah. And what's her name? Is it Rena? Is that her last name? Now I hear what she's saying. Like my daughter, for example, she's open. So when we get together, we have 2 open solar plexuses. But it's literally the more you do of the release work, you really feel all that you're feeling, it will shift. It will totally shift.
Yeah. And I saw.
Thank you both so much.
Oh, are we done? There was one more quick question, but maybe
go for it. Well, we can go a couple minutes over.
Just Paige said, I feel things between my chest and gut. I'm not sure what's in my tense shoulders. And that is, you know, wherever you're feeling things, especially anxiety that is in the chest, is like a lot of stuff stuck in your heart chakra. Your heart chakra is, of course, divided in human design into the will center and the G, but physically, you know, wherever you're feeling tense, and massage therapists know that too, right? Your issues lie in your tissues, right? And when Analena and I first started, we both had a lot stuck in our shoulders too, right? We were literally carrying so much emotion in our shoulders and between our shoulders. It was so painful, right? But yeah, that's all releasable. It's beautiful. It's when that all loosens up, I'm flexible like I've never been before in my life, and I don't even stretch that much. So it's like so many amazing side effects to this kind of work. Yeah. And Sharon, the book is called Letting Go, and the author is called, I believe his first name is Mark, right? Doctor?
I think Dr. Mark Hawkins, right? And the subtitle is The Path to Surrender. It's like yellow and white and then black writing on it. If you go to Amazon, you'll find it. It's amazing. I really, that's one book I can really recommend. Mm-hmm.
Thank you both so much. You had a couple inquiries for people who were wondering if you also do individual readings, which I know you do. So we post specialist profiles on the Facebook as well. So you can find both Analena and Alexandra for individual readings as well as the group work. Thank you both so much. I know this resonated with all of our viewers so much. And everyone should definitely check out their Rapid Alignment Workshop. The link is posted both here in the chat and on Facebook. Thank you both. Everyone have a wonderful weekend, and may you be in the emotional flow. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.